36, we're going to call the City of Belmont Main Street Advisory Board meeting to order. We'll just jump right into the Secretary's report. Phil, you want to take that or no?
I can. And so there were two sets of minutes. We did not have a quorum at the last meeting, so we will need to approve December's minutes first. So do we have any corrections on the December? Can we remember back that far?
And if not, we'll entertain a motion to approve them so we can keep moving.
So moved.
Second, anybody?
I say it.
All right, all in favor? Opposed? Minutes are approved for December. About January.
Okay, we have, also we have January's minutes, where we did not have a quorum, nothing was voted on. Does anyone see anything, any changes that need to be made to those minutes?
If not, we'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll move.
Second from anybody? Sorry. All in favor? No one opposed? Minutes are approved. Anything else on the Secretary's report?
That is it,
Let's move into
Mr.
the
Chair.
staff report.
Okay, staff report. We have been, as many of you know, really busy working on our committees have been having meetings and planning their calendar, their work plan for the year. And I must say, we've had some really good conversations, some really good planning. So I'm very excited about the year ahead. And so we'll hear more about that from the committee chairs. I'm getting out a lot, and I've had 3 really good meetings with 3 business owners this last month that I'd really like to share with you a little bit about. First one was Jonathan Taylor. I spent about 4 hours with Jonathan. We walked around, looked at his properties, had a really good conversation, and then I had a really good follow-up conversation with his sister on the phone. They have a space, which I did not know about, above Belmont Specialty Foods. It was old doctor's office, dentist's office.
Don't want to interrupt, but for
And,
some of the new people, can you tell us who Jonathan Taylor is and what he owns?
Jonathan Taylor, thank you, Danny. You know, that's one of my biggest downfalls. I just assumed.
Yeah.
And so Jonathan Taylor, he owns this block right here, starting with Bliss Gallery, and then he lives above Bliss Gallery. He owns where Cherubs is, and he owns them where the Belmont Specialty Foods, the insurance, and where the doggy vet is. So he owns basically majority of this whole block right here.
He does not own the space.
He does not own
the space between.
The green space.
No.
That does belong to someone else. So, you know, prominent character in town, great guy. Used to serve on the Main Street Board in DBDA. He was a chair. So he has, you know, downtown, you know, his best is, you know, in his best interest. So we've really been talking about that space, and then also this. They also own the property behind. Right back here, kind of next to our office. And so they know that they would like to eventually do something and get those spaces back in commerce. And so that was exciting that we were having those conversations, and I started looking for some grants for him. So it was really a good conversation, and to be able to spend some time with Jonathan. Next person was Matt Nada. Of course, I had previously met with Matt a few times, but this last about 2 weeks ago, and I met with him, I felt like we connected and had a good conversation. We talked in depth about his spaces here. First is where Deborah used to have the jewelry store, and so he has. They did sign a lease with Remax. Remax was going to finish out. Well, they did a sublease agreement with Deb to finish out her term or her lease through. Was it, I think, August, and then September picked up a new lease. We talked about the general store.
I'm sorry, is it just Remax Residential, or is it real estate?
Real estate.
Is it executive real estate, or just residential, or commercial, or do you have it property management? Okay.
I have none of those details.
Okay.
And so I've been trying to follow back up with him. I met with him the Tuesday, and then the next day he was meeting with Remax, and they were signing all the paperwork. So part of me was hoping maybe that fell through, but I don't know. But I'll follow back up with him to see if that get more details on those questions. I was hoping to get more retail in there. That's why. For downtown. He was meeting then the following week. He had a potential business that was interested in the general hardware store, which was more of an outdoors kind of clothing, athleisure wear, Yeti type.
That'd be good.
Merchandise. And so I need to follow back up with him to see kind of where those conversations were. So that should have been last week. And so that was, again, it was a really good conversation. I felt like he really opened up to me more so than previous times. And so, so I think that was really good. My third property owner that I met with was Michael Hicks, who owns the Federal Savings and Loan Building on Catawba Street. He is interested in doing something there. He's already started removing some of the old fencing on the opposite side where we're on the other side, and he really wants to remove the fence in the back in that parking lot and really clean up the side. So he would love to get a really high-end restaurant. He shared with me that he and his wife go to Gastonia at least once a week and eat at Webb Custom Kitchen. He said that's their favorite restaurant because the atmosphere and the food's really good. And I shared with him that I was actually good friends with Jim Morasso, the owner. He said, would you talk to Jim and see if he'd be interested in opening a high-end restaurant here? I said, well, I will have the conversation with him. And I know that Jim was opening another restaurant in Gastonia, but he does have other partners. And so, if not that, he will do office space or something, but he's ready to do something to get some tenants in that space. And so, that was exciting, that he's actually going to start removing some of those fences, and basically said that when we have events that, he does allow us to use that parking back there. So, so that was additional meetings that I had I skipped over community partners. About 2 weeks ago, I held the first kind of quarterly community partners meeting. I held 3 meetings at different days, different times. We had, the first meeting was mostly some staff, but then each meeting I had more and more business owners come in, and we had some really good conversation. I had a agenda, and I said basically, we accept criticism, but it needs to be constructive. We want to be positive, and we really had some good conversations, and actually garnered some interest for some possible new committee members out of that meeting. And so they were excited and thankful to be able to come in and kind of have those conversations. And so I will continue those quarterly meetings. And so at any time, if any of you can join us, that would be good. Arts and culture. We have an art walk coming up May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. We previously were going to hold this along leading up to the Garibaldi Festival. Because Garibaldi Festival, originally we had set it for May 4th. Turns out there were two other conflicting festivals and events. I think Cramerton was having an arts and music festival, and Mount Holly was having some type of festival. So we just simply moved up Garibaldi to a week. So that was April 26th, but we're going to continue to have our art walk on May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th because Harmony moved the opening of their art show for May the 2nd. We have Adobe, the photography studio. They're going to have an art, some artists there, and we started talking to a few other businesses who are going to allow some artists to come in. And so over the next week or two, we'll really start trying to finalize those details and start promoting that.
Is Garibaldi Festival, is that the 26th, which is a Friday, or the 27th, which is Saturday?
It should be Saturday. Do I have that date wrong?
Yeah.
Nancy, okay, yeah, my apologies.
No problem.
So yeah, so it's the last Saturday. So yeah, the 27th. Thank you for catching that. And so the Garibaldi Festival, Cassidy's really working hard. We're wanting to turn that more into an arts and music festival. And so we have a lot of good arts and crafts vendors and artists coming in for that festival as well. Which kind of leads into our Belmont Blooms. Ryan probably knows more about this since he serves on the tourism board. So the lottery agency, who is under contract with the tourism board, put together a 3-year plan, and part of that was to kind of develop a signature festival or event or something downtown. And so something that came out of the conversations with Jim Hoffman and the Gardens was to do some type of event that not necessarily would last a weekend, but maybe a kind of a month long. And they started looking at, different festivals such as the Azalea Festival, the Cherry Blossom, Cheekwood, Tulip. So a lot of communities have, festivals surrounding flowers. And so one thing that we've kind of talked about, or that's been put forth, is Belmont Blooms, and it would be kind of a month-long celebration, kind of toward the end of March through April. And so we had talked about next year moving Garibaldi Fest up into like the last weekend of April to kind of be the ending event for Belmont Blooms. And so that was just kind of that transition a little quicker for this year. But we've already started meeting with some organizations and trying to, Jim came in and met with the city and with Adrian and Shelley and Parks and us, and we were very open to the idea. They're going to, I think this year's our 20th anniversary, I believe. So they planted 20,000 bulbs to kind of see how that goes this year. And so we talked about this year planting bulbs, kind of, and doing bulb sales, planting bulbs all over the city. And so next year we'll have a lot more bulbs blooming. And we talked about doing, a fun kind of art and walking parade with lights. And so a lot of ideas are being tossed around. So the bottom line, a committee will be formed to kind of develop this and kind of start working on it all year long. And so if you're interested in being part of the development of Belmont Blooms, let me know, and I'll let Jim Hoffman know. Yeah, you can pass that around. But Jim came to our community partners meetings and handed these out. And so all of our businesses got really excited about the idea and started pitching out other ideas, types of retail promotions that they could actually get on board with doing. So
You should reach out to Susan Wall, W-A-L-L. I think some of you guys probably know Al Wall. He helped with, she's on Keep Belmont Beautiful.
yes.
She's real forward thinking and she's good with stuff. And she's with Keep Belmont Beautiful, and she's kind of headed up their plant sales for the past few years. But of everybody over there, I think she'd be a good person to maybe slide onto this committee and might
Okay.
even have time to do it and would come with a very positive attitude. So
Okay.
she might be a good community member for you.
Good deal. Yeah, no, Al's on our EV committee.
Yeah, so
And, no,
that's
they're
his
good people.
wife. So, and they just live up the street.
And I think they've already met with Kim, so Jim, they've been meeting with different organizations, and we have a whole list of organizations that we're gonna meet with to, get them on board. The last kind of thing I want to talk about, the Gaston County Arts Guild. I don't know if you're very familiar, they used to have a location in Gastonia downtown, in the old bank building, which got bought out. Some of the members then moved to Mount Holly. Some members found different locations around Gastonia. Adrian actually said, you should try to get them to Belmont, and I said, so some of them are interested in coming to Belmont, but they had Arts on Main, which was the organization in Gastonia, it was really the Arts Guild, and so now they're starting to kind of form their own organization. So I think the group of artists that went to Mount Holly, as my understanding, they're kind of forming their own organization there. Some of the group that's still left in Gastonia have kind of formed their own group, but we do have a group that is interested. There's still the Arts Guild, the Gastonia Arts Guild. They're very interested in finding a spot here in Belmont. So, so I'm just putting that plug out there. We just started having conversations. I'm not for sure exactly how much square feet they're really looking for, but they are really interested in coming and being part of downtown Belmont. So I'm just putting that plug in. So if you know of anything, know of any spaces, as soon as I found out more details, I'll send an email out so we can all kind of keep our eyes and ears out, because it'll be good to, some of them are really good artists, and it'll be good to get them located in downtown Belmont.
I think they're actually having a juried show at Bliss starting in March, April, end of March
Right,
to
okay. Right.
April.
Cam Tracy is the current president, and she's became a good friend of mine, and she's a great artist, and she's a great person, and she loves coming to, she had a show a couple months back at Bliss, and she and some of the artists will be part of when we do our May 2nd through 4th art walk. They will be part of Dobie's, the photo studio, so they'll have artists there, and they will be then coming back and doing a show at Bliss. But it will be really good. They're really creative, great people, and so it will be great if we can get them here in downtown. So one other thing I would like to maybe that I actually left off. Another event that is going to take place on March 28th, and I think it's a Thursday night, is a fashion show. So Gigi's is partnering with Jolie and I think 4 other high-end dress shops out of Charlotte, out of the Ballantyne area, and so they're going to have a fashion show at Tinkataba, and so I think this would be a great event, and so they're actually selling tables, and so I would like to recommend that maybe the DBDA support this event by buying a table It's a $250 donation to get a table. And it was either 4 or 6 tickets to get in at the table, and I think they're going to have some food and drinks. But I recommend that maybe the DBDA Main Street, maybe consider supporting this event. This is the type of events that it'd be nice for more of our businesses to really produce and for us to support. And
So it's $250 and you get a table, and then there's food as well?
I think they're going to be serving finger foods and drinks.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we can pass around. There's more details. And actually, Gigi has a marketing lady on McLeod. Is it? I can't say. I just want to blank her first name. She's actually interested in getting on our promotions committee as well, as a result of coming to our community partners meeting, and so I think it should be a great addition to our promotions committee. Is it maybe Amy McLeod or anyway? But it's a great event.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a great event.
For a point of clarification, so are we going to consider this under the DBDA or Main Street?
I think maybe I should table that for maybe DBDA.
Okay.
Sorry,
That's this one.
Jump the gun.
I jumped the gun. My bad. One strike.
All right, you got anything else, Phil?
I think that is it for my
That's
staff report. Any
great.
questions?
Any questions for Phil before we move into the chair reports? All right, before we get into the chair report, I just wanted to say, talking with each of you and seeing the emails and the conversations that are going on, I'm really excited for this year. There's a lot of great stuff going on. I'm excited for you guys to share it today, and I just wanted to thank you we're a month and a half into the year, and there's a lot of hard work and time going into this, and so I just want to say we appreciate all your hard work, and we look forward to the results going forward. Starting next meeting, we'll get the work plans out, since most of those should be done, and we'll just start referencing the work plan every meeting so we stay on track. So we'll just go ahead and start with Angela and the design committee.
So, first order of business for the design committee is, there was a facade enhancement grant. Is that, it is?
Yeah, we've got a copy.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it's in the,
So, this was for the property owners of the String Bean Cafe and Johnny B's Pizza Pad, and they're requesting a total of $1,743, and that's to replace the 4 fabric awnings on their businesses. 3 awnings are located on the front facade of the building fronting Main Street, and 1 fabric awning is on the Kenwood Street of the String Bean patio entrance, and that request would be a 1-to-1 match for what they're putting into it, so.
and I'm sorry, I will pass this. I was trying to save on some ink, and so I did not make copies for everyone. And one thing I did not include in is the quotes. They did get all their proper quotes.
Jimmy, just,
And
this
so,
is my copy if anybody wants to see any more detail.
and I have that as well,
So, our committee looked at this and felt it met the standards, and have approved it for the money that I mentioned as the recommendation for this board to consider.
I guess my question is, do we want green cloth awnings, or would we prefer green metal or black metal, or have we considered any other options to encourage them to move into a different direction?
We have not. They're matching what they had, which is typically kind of the standard by which, we evaluate. We have to have some sort of, so it's not too arbitrary, we have to have some sort of standards.
and also when you really dig into the standards as far as buildings of this age trying to then put on metal or refabricating some type of awnings that may not have originally have been there, that really does not meet the Secretary of Interior standards, but temporary cloth awnings they do, for protection of the elements. And so the only time we would really want to get into would be restoration of awnings, historic awnings that were originally there.
And then, did they ever do those plant boxes and stuff with the last grant we gave them? Or
I'm
approved,
not sure they ever implemented the grant.
Okay.
I do recall they did get a grant approved, but they did not implement it, that's correct. So we never gave them any money. That was about a year or so
years ago.
ago. They applied for actually 2 grants,
Oh,
and only
okay.
one went through.
What's the lifespan on a fabric?
It's 10 to 12 years.
How much do we have in our budget for this year?
There have been no grants awarded out of and so originally, I think, approximately 10,000 was budgeted.
Yeah, we
but
typically allow for a maximum of 4.
a maximum of 4, and none have been
None have come
awarded.
through. And if I
And we
recall
do-
correctly, there's money in the
There is
funding line
money
item
in the budget
to cover that.
to cover this grant.
Well, their awnings certainly need to be replaced.
They
I
are
think it'll
ripped
be a
and
great
tattered
improvement.
and,
They're really faded and tattered. Well, I'd be happy to enter a motion
Entertain a motion to,
Great. I'd like to support the recommendation from the design committee that we recommend approval to the city council for this grant application.
I second it.
we got a motion to second. All in favor of approving to send it to city council? All in favor, say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. Thank you, Angela. On to the next one.
Next order of business is our downtown kiosk project. It's been something we worked on all last year, carrying it forward through this year. We considered a number of different types of kiosk and styles, and we ended up with a design that we were very, very psyched about.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so there's a packet for that. You can look at. It's what we are recommending is that we implement these caboose-style kiosk in our historic downtown district section. So this kiosk would be electronic, outdoor stable, it would be electronic. It would have the functionality to give us more than just a map of where to go. You could really get information about the businesses. It has, you could get information about events. You know, it expands the possibility. When you say kiosk, I don't think it quite says enough. And then the enclosure itself that you're looking at, the caboose design, is, we feel, something that would be, you know, people would like. It fits in, it ties in, you know, in every way we can think. So we're really excited about this. We think it could even be like that fun kind of photo opportunity. So it's almost like a little bit of art as well as practical information. So we were excited about this. We're looking at recommending one to two units to be produced and installed in our historic downtown district. In the future, we would be looking for the other districts as they improve, as it makes sense when improvements are happening there, to kind of roll other kiosk designs in those areas. But for right now, we're looking at just historic downtown. So 1 to 2 units, our primary recommendation would be Stowe Park, and there's a map. And you've kind of seen, this is not completely probably accurate to scale, but close. This would be where we would be talking about putting it, right there at the entrance of Stowe Park. Now, the kiosk is going to have one side that's going to be electronic. The back of it is you're going to be able to fit in like a calendar, like the city calendars with all the events. But the electronic side will also, you'll be able to access events and even get more detail for that. So you will see it from both sides. And the other location we're looking at would be sort of as you enter downtown, there near the Banner News. The sidewalks are really wide, and we did a walkthrough with the designer and Shelley and Phil, and to kind of ID what would be appropriate, what would have enough space, what would really gather attention and people could see it, and also be a benefit. So those are our two areas to consider that we're recommending. There are also estimated costs for the units, the caboose enclosures, and such in this packet. And Phil will have more can say more about those as well.
Can you walk right through this budget while you're talking? Can you walk straight through the budget?
Yes, and actually, there were three areas that we would like to actually put kiosks in downtown, and the third is somewhere back over kind of on Glenway Street where the parking lot, but we have possibly some new construction going on back there, and with the Charlie Barn coming in back there, we thought back there would be a great location, and so that's why we were kind of looking at the two locations. We also kind of considered somewhere around City Hall, but I think we kind of felt like North Main Street and outside Stowe Park was the best two locations as a start. And so actually late yesterday afternoon, last night, I want Angela to look at this budget real quick. We had some updated numbers come in because we've been pulling numbers from Sharp and working with Sharp, who are developing, the software inside, but then also working with Buzz, the designer, on some things. And so
This is missing.
but that was built into that, I thought.
Well, this is,
Because the total for 3 was 39,000 total.
what's missing here is, I don't think it changed.
So basically, it's purchasing just one kiosk is going to be, cost us much more than if we were to purchase 2 or 3 because of, on the Buzz, on the construction and design side, constructing multiple is going to reduce the cost for the production. And then, because he basically said, if we do one at a time, it's basically a $4,000 increase on just doing the materials, and so it's a cheaper rate for the Buzz to build multiple at one time. On the hardware and the software, the software design and development, that's $7,000 on the coming down. That is a one-time cost, and so as far as 1 versus 3, that is developing the guts of the system. So once that is developed, then,
Let's just start from the top. Sharp hardware and software for $12,000, pretty much $13,000. What exactly is that?
that is Angela, that's the computers.
Yeah, it's the computer and the monitor. So it's we're looking at a vendor that does the design and does the enclosure, and then a vendor that's doing the hardware, and then they're subcontracting a vendor that does the software. So that's why it's kind of broken out in these different areas. Here are the specs. Thought they're here. Wait a minute.
Again, is that a one-time cost as well, or is that?
I'm sorry, line one? the
Yeah,
short-
just go with
that-
that.
That's a one-time cost. There is a warranty that we're recommending for the monitor. So, and that's, as you can see, is a 5-year warranty, so if that gives you some idea of what, when
So
you
what's
might
the,
have to.
what's that 12,916 go to?
It goes towards this, it's a Peerless AV 49-inch monitor that's designed to go within, like, so many degrees of, below zero and so many
So that's one-
degrees. That's one. And a
Okay.
computer.
So that's not a one-time cost, that's
That
a,
would be every time we buy one.
That is per.
Per unit.
Per unit.
Per unit.
Per
kiosk.
unit, yeah.
And it would be per unit, and if that would, in however many years, if that breaks, some part of that breaks, then that would be a actual, electronics that could have to be replaced. So that is what that involves. It also involves that extra $2,000 that you're seeing there that wasn't on the other one, involves, they came back, to say that they needed to have the overlay for the touchscreen that was custom.
Okay,
And that is, based on the emails that I saw prior to that, that was something that the guy was saying that we needed.
Okay.
Dara had included that in her last email as optional.
okay.
And this email came in very late, so we
Okay.
did not get a chance to talk to her and go through it. But
Yeah.
I think it is, if we want to be conservative and say it's needed, I think based on the previous emails, it was
That would-
was
okay.
told to us that it was needed.
Okay.
So that's not included in this?
It is included.
It is included, okay, good.
So-
I'm just going back to some.
Okay.
That warranty is years 1 and 2. The 5-year warranty, that's actually 3, 4, and 5, as per her email last night. Yeah, I saw this last night after we got out of our promotions work session at 9 o'clock, so I was here until 10, trying to really make sense of this. So the 5-year warranty, that's actually years 3, 4, and 5,
Right.
which is optional. Years 1 and 2 is built into that $2,000 up in the hardware, I guess, is that the hardware software?
Hardware software
Right.
includes the standard.
How much of that hardware software is actual hardware costs, which would be per kiosk, and for the software, are we paying for that one time and have the opportunity to support multiple units, or is that also a per kiosk software cost?
You mean the 7,000 that's identified here as the
Software
software?
design.
Design and development?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a one-time cost, I think.
That is a
Long as-
one-time developing the internal systems to function how we want it to.
Yeah, it's custom designed, and we've given them a really long list of specs of what we want to see happen and how we want it to function, and so that would require extra cost in that category would come into play if we decide we want to add features later. But see, they can build on this. So that's the benefit of doing this custom, is that this is paid up front and then they can build on it. Like if we do the 3 kiosk, that's not a recurring cost per kiosk. The hardware would be, but not the software. If though we end up adding multiple businesses or a lot of hotels and we say, hey, we want to have a hotel page, then we can buy extra hours. So you can buy it by the hour or you can buy a package of hours. And then so just depending on how much you need to change, they can go in and add a little bit to it. And this is all these changes are updatable. Like nobody has to go out there and plug something in. So if we wanted to if a new business changes or whatever and we want to buy an hour, which is like $177 or something, if like a new building, not changes, but like we can do the changes.
Yeah, we can
But
upload.
if a new business like builds and we want to add it on the map, the functionality where you press the name and it highlights on the map, or you press the map and it highlights the name, or what, that kind of thing would be another instance where we might have more software in the future. Does that explain? The Bizzell Project Management is our designer, and he's going to be the one who was doing the caboose enclosure, and he's going to be the one to kind of oversee everything kind of happening on, when we put these things in. He's going to oversee
Installation.
putting the hardware in and as well as his unit. So all the just sort of construction of actually installing it. And then the fabrication, that is a per unit cost. So if we wanted, that's a cost for one, so if we wanted to do another one, you would double that. The project management, you would not double as long as the units are installed at the same time.
So the kiosk costs $13,000 to build.
This
Correct.
design that
And then
you're
it costs
looking at,
$12,000 to put a TV in it.
a TV and a computer. Yep. And then the, projected text. So yeah, cost if constructed individually. That's essentially adding in, that's kiosk only, like caboose only related cost if constructed individually. It would be adding a project management cost to that.
So the caboose kiosk fabrication, that's turnkey where that's just installation, okay.
That is correct, right, Phil?
Yes.
There was nothing else. I didn't.
Yeah.
Is he working with a particular sign company for fabrication, or did he say?
He did not say.
Okay.
And I'm pulling up this monitor so you can see what that software is. I just didn't have it printed out.
So it sounds like we could, if we wanted to get these get some fabricated, you could start out with some static, not put the sharp thing in and use it that way until you bought the unit, but it's probably more cost effective to do it all at once, right?
I would think so, yes. I mean, that would be a lot of money to put just a
13,000.
13, just to put a little
You'd have to change out the
stagnant.
posters,
Yeah, I mean, we have A-frame to do
It's a lot
that.
more.
Yeah.
Were there any other quotes? Sharp's the only one that quoted the monitor.
Well, we looked at it different ways. We started out looking with Buzz specifically because he was offering to just do a PDF. Like, he would build the caboose, which we all loved. We all settled on that design pretty quickly.
That's great.
And then it was just a question of, well, what do we want to see inside? What do we want it to do? Let's explore these options. And that's what took so much time, because it's infinite what the options are.
Right.
So we looked at Buzz first with just doing, it would be electronic, but it would just be a PDF of each district and a list. Like it wouldn't
Be interactive.
It wouldn't be
really.
interactive.
And it was a max of basically about four or
Four.
five PDFs that you would sit there and swipe, and so it would just be a picture.
Right. He did have an attract loop that was going to run, which this also has an attract loop, which that term means, for those of you that are not familiar, because I wasn't, it's just like when you see one of these things and it's like a screensaver, there's stuff going through. So we felt that might be an avenue. We were looking at thinking about 4 or 5 different screens. We've kind of ID'd what kind of subject matter we want them to have, and then have one of those screens even be something that could be a paid advertisement that can help to maintain the unit, as far as a cost to bring something back to us. So that once they're installed, they're not costing us. So, but that was also something that the designer could have had, quoted originally, but then his maps would have just been like a map of historic district, a map of
Right.
river district, a map of. So that was the first way we looked at it. The second way we looked at it was a template, because there are other cities that have used these kiosks that go with a template service. And if you're just going to put one kiosk in and that's it, and you're not going to try to put some sort of custom enclosure around it, that's pretty affordable, but once you try to make it something more, or if you're looking at putting more down the road, it doesn't pan out from a cost perspective, because they charge you kind of the same thing for every one that you install, which is really significant as well. It's not cheap.
So in this budget, is there any reoccurring costs every year, or is this all?
Yeah, there is. The $851.22 is a reoccurring subscription cost. Those are called content manager licenses, and that would be a reoccurring cost per unit. So if we have one, it's $851.22. If we have two, it would be times 2.
Is there any other maintenance that would need to be done?
The parks, the public utilities would just need to, wipe off the screen, essentially. Over time, the enclosure, may have things that have to maintain. That's why we were thinking to try to do a paid ad, for our loop to sort of offset
Help pay for that.
what down the road might, because, anything out in the weather.
Yeah. And how does it stand up to vandalism? Do we know?
It's,
Yeah, okay.
It's a metal box with a
With
TV,
electronic.
with electronic enclosed inside it.
yeah. But these are, and I'm not having.
So is there a protective thing over the screen? Okay, wonderful.
Like here's one of the things, the units, so the hardware actually is the Peerless outdoor monitor. And these things are huge. What is the?
It's like 49.
Here it
So it
is.
says 49 inches or something.
Yeah. And there is this extreme outdoor IR touch overlay that goes over this. That would be another piece of that hardware software component. So it's
So it adds a
different.
little bit of protection to the screen.
Yeah.
Is that a relatively standard size for that? And we built the design around it, or did we build the design and customize the size to?
Well, since we started out with just the designer and not with Sharp, this has been altered to adjust to that. But his initial monitor, the one that he was quoting, was similar. This one's a little bit narrower, a little bit taller, narrower, but his was essentially. It was very similar.
Is there a significant cost difference between what he was quoting originally based on his proposed side versus?
Oh, for the
after we've
hardware, I
customized
don't
it?
have the breakout for the hardware.
Okay.
For overall, yes, there was a significant difference, because that was mostly the functionality of just, one map, one map per district, versus this is going to be the kind of thing where you would, like I'd say, as you see it, it has all the, whether it be a image of somebody, at one of our, festival, or if it would be people having fun. We're thinking lifestyle things that attract, the community, the water,
So-
And so what we were trying to work within was a $57,000 capital improvement budget. And based off some preliminary budgeting that Buzz did, he was looking at 2 electronic kiosks with just 4 or 5 swipes, within maybe being able to construct a third that would just be a static, just to put one poster up. So it was kind of like maybe 2.5. But then we started looking at Sharp and understanding, we felt like we wanted more than just 4 or 5 PDF pictures. And so going with Sharp, that's when the whole world opened up as far as the possibilities to really promote each individual business's events, attractions surrounding downtown. And so basically we can get 2 for, a little,
So the capital improvement, 57,000, that's already budgeted and approved, is that correct?
yes.
Yes, it's budgeted this year.
And
In
is there-
fact, we have to use it by June 30th.
So if you use all 57,000 by June 30th?
Yes, that's
2019.
correct.
That's not exactly how it works. I mean, it was put into the budget,
For this year.
yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be used. And it
Well, that's.
certainly doesn't have to be used for
That's what
this.
Adrian's been saying to staff, so we've been
That's what, yeah.
trying to keep up.
And just to describe what this is actually, what some of the functions of this thing is going to be, so you can understand what we're thinking. You know, we're thinking it would have 5 different categories where you could, you know, you walk up to it, you touch the screen to get it off the attract loop, and you're going to see a map of where you are, and then you're going to see these, you're going to see a home screen that'll have the different categories, which could be food and drink, retail, all of your non-retail businesses and organizations, and then your to-do and see. So we cover everything within focusing within our 3 downtown districts, all of those businesses would be covered. Businesses and entities would be covered. Beyond that, in the to-do and see, we could hit on some of the key tourist, you know, kind of important points that would be of interest to people who would be visiting here.
Like the gardens.
Like the gardens, like the Abbey, you know, so that we can bring that in the to-do and see. So when someone would press on one of the buttons, when I say buttons, it's a screen, but yeah, press the screen for something. If they wanted to do and see, for example, if it's a Saturday night and, you know, you've got people downtown at the events and they want to see what's coming up, they can press to do and see, and they can get a list of the events that are coming. They can, you know, that all the different businesses would be able to send in their list of events to get plugged in. So, I mean, this doesn't even have to be just the city events. You know, it could be smaller events. It could be people playing live music some night. You know, it really is expansive as to what it could do. It can talk about attractions, arts and culture. The Belmont Go can be promoted there. And then from a functionality standpoint, if say somebody wanted to eat at a restaurant and they do food and drink, they press food and drink and then they go, okay, well, I really want, let me see what this Nellie's is about, and they press Nellie's, and on the screen over on the side would come up detail about Nellie's, where, you know, it's possible that we could include images of the food, or we could include, you know, we can include a description of the restaurant. We can include, you know, there's a lot.
A link to their Facebook page.
And we can talk about, you know.
Do video?
We thought we would do, we'll have the capacity to do video, but we did not include that.
As of phase 1.
Yeah.
Like I said, we can build on that.
Yeah,
What would that, any ballpark on how much that would be?
we didn't ask.
We didn't get
We'll have
that
to ask
far.
that question.
We were just trying to get some basics.
So, but it'll also have like a QR, so, you know, with a map, so it'll do the breadcrumbs, you know, to tell you you're, you know,
Yeah.
2 minutes from Nellie's, oh, I'm here, it's there. And it'll do a QR, so you can screen it with your phone, and you can walk away with all that information. So it's significantly different than the PDF. That was, you know, I just wanted to make that point.
What level of customization is something we have access to do? For example, if we're talking about ad space, is that something that we have access, or are we going to have to pay for that?
No, we can change, we put up all the content, like once we work with the software people on developing where it will be located and how it will function and how it will link, then they give us an account where we can essentially, if you go to Nellie's and Nellie's wants to be that person that has an ad or whatever, we can just give them the specs of how we need it formatted, and then we can upload it ourselves.
Yeah, so we would basically upload and manage the content. And it was basically, they said it's kind of all in like Excel, it's kind of spreadsheet forms. And so like the pictures that are rotating every minute or 2 minutes, it's basically like a timed, you know, chart. And we input what image we want. And so the images can change throughout the day or throughout the week or quarterly. We control how we set that.
And they give us training so that we know how to do it.
It's just kind of like a PowerPoint type of thing that you could put the data in
And then it's live, but it's interactive. Yeah.
I got a question about the the cost, like, you know, if you're gonna do the second one, and it said that, request at least an additional $15,250 in next year's budget. But it also said that, you know, if you're doing one at a time somewhere, I think I read, the individual cost might increase by $4,000 each. So would that be enough, in the next year's
Okay.
budget?
So the cost for, on this sheet, the cost for one kiosk,
Right,
I'm including that $4,000 because if we're only
Okay.
building one, it's gonna cost us more. But then to build the second one, you know, I'm not including the 4,000 in those. And then the second one is cheaper because we're not having to pay the one-time
okay.
software content
Okay, I
development.
missed that.
And so then the third one should be basically the same cost as the second one.
I got you.
Because you're paying just for that, the kind of the infrastructure, you know, the guts and everything has already been developed.
Okay. Thank you.
Does that make sense,
Yes.
Ryan?
I have extreme sticker shock,
That's,
which is hard for me to have, to be honest with you. This is the first time I've really just taken away
It's-
something like this, because, you know, in our discussions on kiosks, we were looking at $50,000 putting kiosks in multiple places all around the community. Now we're looking at one kiosk at Stowe Park for $47,000 with ongoing costs. And so, I'm fine sending this to the city council, but I'm not real optimistic about the result, to be honest with you. So, I'm not sure. I wish Ron was here, because I'd really love to hear his feedback on this. Because I usually have a little bit of a, you know, different view of downtown and how we invest in downtown
Right.
than some of the other council members. So, I'm not sure how excited people will be about spending, you know, $72,000 on kiosks when we've just been, you know, we just spent $100,000 on the tennis courts, which was a major deal for us to do. And then this is
Right.
not as important. And so, those are the things, because here it's easy for us and even easy for me to push things forward, but up there,
Right.
then we gotta compare this versus everything else from every other department ranked through.
Right.
And I know we've had $50,000 budgeted for kiosks, but I'm not sure this has the same impact of what we wanted.
right. I was gonna ask how did that number get arrived at? Do you recall?
I'm not sure. I'm sure staff developed it based on what they thought kiosks would cost.
Okay.
Well,
And that was before any digital conversations
Yes.
came up in all
That's
fairness.
correct, that was
That's
before.
And-
That's the
and-
key.
And so,
That was before.
and Adrian's response will most likely be like, what kind of town do you want to have? And I'm not sure the response back is going to be $25,000 kiosks that may or may not break and then have to be replaced in 5 or 6 years too. And so, there's going to be some concerns about vandalism and how we work against that. There'll be concerns about how many of these, the ongoing, and so I'm not even sure what questions to ask right now
Right.
on this, but this will get more scrutiny, I think. So I'm not, like I said, I wish Ron were here to, I'd welcome his opinion on this, but that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
no one's going to disagree with
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
No, and it was, I think it could be, it was a little, I can be honest, it was,
Yeah.
I think, a little sticker shock for Angela and I. We've been like crunching numbers and working with Sharp and Buzz like daily for
Yeah.
a couple months now. And
This is one
it's
of
like,
the reason why this process has taken so long.
Yeah.
You know, it is not, it was not easy to arrive at something that we all agreed with to recommend.
right.
Yeah.
So, and I hear what you're saying, and, you know, that's certainly valid.
Right.
You know, the points
Right.
of view are different for city council.
And-
But we feel that, you know, with our town, it's quaint, especially historic downtown, it's quaint. Where we're talking about putting these would be very visible, so we wanted to make sure it had a design to it. So that's where the caboose adds to, it's not just a normal kiosk, because that's not, a normal kiosk is just a piece of metal on a stand, you know? And that seemed to be a little, you know, that, if you're gonna have a piece of metal with a screen behind it on a stand in historic downtown, you know, I think we can do better than that. So that's why we went to add the cost of the kiosk, of the booth enclosure, which we really support and think is great. The electronic aspect of it is just sort of thinking ahead. If you're going to invest in this, you do need to kind of, it's like when you buy a computer, you buy a phone, you do need to look ahead and what people are becoming accustomed to. And if you have a kiosk that's paper, people are probably going to just try to use their phone rather than
Get more information off your phone.
Yeah, if they see something that goes, oh, this has got the capability like my phone does, they're going to try to use that. That's kind of the thought. I mean, and you do, they have electronic kiosks in other cities, like, you know, so it's not other small cities, so it's not unheard of.
Did
Are there
anyone,
any grants available that we can look into?
Well, I'm going to say yes, because when we get to the DVD, I'm going to talk about some grants and, you know, the Community Impact Fund and stuff. But as far as, was I looking at some of those grants for this? I guess I had not, but, you know, the Community Impact Fund, that is about art and, you know, having an impact on downtown. So, you know, we used that money for the lights last year. I know that there's the
Belmont Tourism
The
Authority.
Belmont Tourism
might be able
Authority.
to tap into a grant.
but we were hoping to tap into them for sponsorship for, you know, Friday Night Live and other events. Now, Caramont Health, their grant system is coming up, and so, you know, this, I don't know if this would help promote walkability.
They'd probably have to sell them an ad in there, to, you know, part of their sponsorship.
Yeah,
They
would be
want to
part of
have a
having
big presence.
so I think ultimate answer is yes. But how does that fit within the timeline? Because we've been told we've got to spend
Yeah,
this by
we've
June
been told.
30th. We've got to actually have these constructed and implemented and installed by June 30th. So,
is there a way to get an extension?
Well, I'm sure
on
we can
that?
ask council, you know,
Yeah,
they
just say
handle the
we've
budget.
got a
so-
project. But the other thing that I wanted to ask is, if you're looking at advertising, do you have kind of like what an idea would be to incorporate the advertising in it to, and
Yeah.
pay for it?
Yeah.
Help- Or help pay for it?
Yeah, I mentioned the Attract Loop as one option. The other place that we see would be possible would be to kind of have that little detail aspect of the businesses be something that could be plussed. Like,
Yeah, if they want to enhance page.
If you
Yeah.
want to have,
Yeah.
you
The
know,
pretty picture.
a picture instead of just your logo
Or your
or
menu,
something,
or-
or,
yeah.
you know, we hadn't settled on, you know, that's going to take a lot more thought to make sure that we do it in a way that all businesses can kind of, you know,
Have an
utilize.
opportunity,
So we haven't really formed the proper way to do that, but we do see that little section as an opportunity. Everybody gets a listing, but maybe some people have enhanced listings if they become a friend
A
of the
partner,
DVDA or whatever.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing we
That's
had
a
talked
great
about
idea.
is, you know, creating a friend in the DVDA. And if it's an annual membership of, say, you know, $200,
Yeah.
well, you know, that would also maybe include
And-
additional.
And within the software price, part of that is just sort of some basic ROI on how many clicks. Like, so if a business gets a lot of clicks, I mean, that might be the kind of thing that as we kind of put it out there, we can kind of figure out what makes sense as well, you know, the ways to enhance it.
So what's the recommendation today, right now?
Well, the one thing that we had talked about on the design committee was we recommend that we shoot for 2 kiosks. That one, like I said, the locations, North Main Street, and that we actually
And Step
in Stowe Park, and that would use up the 57,000, but then was to go towards in front of City Council and try to ask for the additional 15 or whatever out of next year's budget, which would begin
2020,
for
2019.
2019-20, that would begin July 1st, so that we could move forward with implementing 2.
What is the time expected for the project to be completed?
Well,
June
it's,
30th.
we've been told it needs to be completed by June 30. So that would require, to meet that schedule based on the time it takes to create the kiosk. The software part of it is like a 6-week, section, but it all kind of has to get approved together. So that would require our board to decide whether or not we want to push it forward to City Council, and it would require City Council to be looking at it on March 4th.
March 4th?
So
Approving it on March 4th?
if it is to get done in this way by June 30, it would require an approval by March 4th by City Council.
Well, I think we should send it to them.
Yeah,
I think this board should absolutely
Yeah.
send it to them.
yeah.
Well,
I think we need to add even some basic ads, if some sort of payback. I think there's gotta be some sort of, how are we gonna monetize it as well? So that kind of gets the sticker shock away. It's gonna be expensive, but we can say, hey, we're gonna make X amount of thousands of dollars a year. It's gonna promote our Friday Night Live events. I mean, who goes to that meeting and sells it, I guess, is my question too. So who presents this? Angela does?
I have some work commitments, honestly.
yeah,
That's what-
otherwise the downtown director would.
Yeah.
Or you can't. I mean, this
Yeah.
board can
That's cool.
decide who they want to present it. And it doesn't mean that if it goes forward, we can't still pursue grants in the interim
Yeah.
to help, because who knows, we might end up with enough money for another one or something.
Did we
So-
get grants for the wayfinding signs?
We did, and I was thinking about that, it was through the state, I think I found $15,000 through the state.
That helped get that project approved.
Yes,
This-
and there's, and I think we can, I was going to check to see if it's still available. It was a pilot program, and only a few communities got it. We happened to get it because we already had a program in the works, so they could see how it was benefiting our community. So I was thinking about that as we were talking. I have to dig in. I can't remember the name of the grant, but I do know it was through the state, and it was a pilot program, and I don't know if they continued with it, but I will check into that. And it was a maximum of 15,000.
Ryan, in your opinion, is it going to be easier to sell one under budget for 47,000, or is it going to be easier to say two? I mean, what's your thought? No idea.
I have no idea.
Well, would the city council consider extending the
30.
June 30th date?
They would.
And then that would allow the committee, the board, to look at options for grants and potential revenue in using advertising, so that it doesn't look maybe so,
Sticker shock.
wow.
But we could give a report at the next meeting, tell them where we are and what our
I'd
strategy
just
is.
present it like this.
You just go for it?
I mean, I'd present it with the options. I wouldn't recommend 1, 2, or 3.
Okay,
I'd recommend the findings,
gotcha.
because
Let's move forward with that.
I don't know how strongly I would weigh the number that was recommended versus just kind of making my own decision based on the information presented and the dialogue with everybody else. So, but I mean,
Would we simultaneously want to request an extension? It seems like March 4th, based
Yeah.
on some, just general gut feeling about how it could be viewed by the
It's less than
council.
2 weeks.
That's too
And
close.
yeah, that's extremely close to some of the information that we're looking for.
So Adrian will present it, in my opinion, he'll
Okay.
present it as something, just that this is something for this budget year. We already have it budgeted for this budget year if we want to move forward with it this budget year. And that's what he'll say. And then, I mean, we can come up with our own decision, but
All right.
I mean, from this board's perspective, I would get the information to city council as soon as possible.
So we need to entertain a motion to present it at city council on March 4th, or we just, that's the plan? How's that work?
I think we have to accept it.
Yeah.
Well, everybody
As a-
likes the design and everything, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's just the sticker shock that.
Yeah, I think everyone loves the.
Yeah, I think the Boost
It'd be
is-
awesome.
They work very hard. I thought
Oh, yeah.
Buzz did the wayfinding sign. He's blended this kiosk. I think it's
I think potential's endless too.
a
Yes.
piece of art. So I look at it as sort of part
Oh,
of
it's cool.
art on Main Street.
That's great.
Yeah.
There's no question about that.
Okay, great. So that we can get the council's feedback on that too. So.
So I want to make sure I fully understand.
Right, what we're
So-
gonna do.
So are is your recommendation that we present the findings and that we're wanting to request an extension and SPOR grants? Or are we going to go ahead and say, this is it, and then let the council give us direction on?
Yeah, number 2, I'd let council give you direction on
Okay,
it,
two.
and I'd be
Council
prepared to answer questions about whether or not you pursued grants.
Okay.
Because those are the questions you're gonna get. I would think. Who knows? I'm wrong more often. You never know. It's
Council
government.
direction.
But that would be my thought.
So we're going to kind of test their temperature and kind of get a little direction.
And you can get quick
and-
5 thumbs up, or it could be like never.
Okay.
Or go back and build them out of wood and stick push pins on flyers. You don't know.
How attractive is
I
that?
should need to scrap that.
I mean, you never know. You guys, I mean, you're smart. You never know what's going to come out of these things. But I know everybody was in favor for kiosks at one point, and there was a budget around it. And my thought would have been more kiosks for that
Money,
price
yeah.
versus one kiosk for that price. And I understand the digital change, and they look way better than I could have ever imagined. But that's, I mean, here, I mean, it's perfect. We're doing exactly what this board's supposed to be doing.
Right.
I'm just saying from the city council's perspective, when they weigh this price tag up against maybe a new swing set in a park, that's where
Right.
you start to have a little bit of friction.
Yeah.
It's just
Okay.
priorities.
All right, so we'll present it March 4th at the city council meeting. That's a good conversation. Angela, would you like to continue on your other points?
Yeah, so the other, just to kind of a catch up of other things, looking ahead, we have a new committee member who has a background in art, like a big background in art, so, art institutions. So that's fantastic. I think we'll make some good strides with that in those related projects this year. The one that we will be bringing up, just to give you a preview for next month's meeting, it's our intention to bring up in front of this board the art box wraps that we've talked about before. So that's our goal, is to have that kind of in a form that everyone can look at, because there would be a cost involved in, we would want to pay the winner a little something, and there would be cost involved to produce it. So we're going to be working this month to get all those figures together.
Sounds good.
For the History Walk, that is now available on your Android, so Google Play. Should you have a, should your device go to the Google Play Store, you can find the Belmont Go app there and download the History Walk. I encourage you, take it. It's very good.
So it's Belmont Go app.
It's Belmont Go. It is not yet available on the in the App Store. We had a little hiccup in that application process, so we're having to kind of redo some things. Poor Phil.
Well, all of us, so anyway, so yeah, we're working on trying to get that corrected.
Yeah,
So Angela actually suggested that we do the
The Genius
I go
Bar.
to Charlotte, go to the Genius Bar, is that what you call it?
Exactly.
To get them to help us.
Find a
Guys in the little black
techie,
t-shirts to
yeah.
help you, please.
So we had a individual account, and there was an individual, and now we need an organization
Okay.
account, so we're having a hard time figuring out how to change
We had
that,
an
so.
organization account with them once, because we have
You
the
have
City of Belmont app, so.
If you have that information, it may just be adding that, we may already have it.
We might have to, I think our website company, Civic Plus, did it for us, because it's their app.
Well, then they would have
So-
the sign-in for it.
Civic
Okay, okay.
Plus. Okay, so.
Our life might have just got easier.
Yes. In fact, their new representative was in our office this week and gave us their card, so.
Okay.
We'll reach out to them.
And then our bit of new business is, if this is okay to talk about the new business part, wasn't sure if that was
Go ahead.
secret. Okay. Okay. So Jamie Campbell with the City of Belmont was our guest at our meeting last week. And she and the city they're doing something called Trains on Main, which will be similar to Mice on Main in Greenville, if you've seen that. It's little bronze statues that kids find. It's kind of like a scavenger hunt. So we're going to be working with them to help collaborate to get the content so they can put that also as a tour on the app.
Oh, great.
So that we're going to try to do a little history content relating to the railroad and some of the different sites. So I think that was really exciting to see the collaboration and to see another use of the capabilities of that app that was invested in. So that was it.
That was good. Any questions for Angela? All right, organization committee, Phil and I are going to have to follow up with Phil, but
Yeah, I got a couple of things. So, I updated our kind of sponsorship form and printed it, and then, so, let me take one and pass it. I kind of tried to update and make some tweaks, and I noticed then we ran out of orange, so one of our pictures didn't print, so I don't know why. So I will email this to everyone, but maybe try to get some, I'll get some more printed so everybody
We
can
get
have.
Chris maybe to
Yeah,
print
I was
some.
gonna say, maybe I can get Chris to print some. The one thing that I would like to put forth is for us to consider, which I made the changes on here, was on the headline sponsors. So I basically looked at, if we have a headline sponsor, instead of them just being the headline sponsor for the July 4th, for a Friday Night Live concert, for $3,000, I increased that to $3,500, and then there would be a headline sponsor. There would be a DBDA sponsor for the entire year, so there'd be a headline sponsor for a Friday Night Live concert, there'd be a headline sponsor for our Nightmare on Main Street, and then there would be a headline sponsor for Christmas Village. So that they would get, more promotion, advertising for the entire year at all of our events instead of just the Friday Night Live concert. Because I would like to kind of go in that direction with all of our sponsorships in the future. Right now, we've been kind of talking about this.
Yeah.
So they're sponsoring and they're a partner of the DBDA and the Main Street program for all of our events instead of just one event.
Okay, so based on this, if someone wants to be, there would be no cap on headline sponsorships for Friday Night Live.
Right.
So you could have 2 headline sponsors.
Right.
Or 3, okay. All right, got it.
Well, I put 5 available as a headlines, I take that back. I went with last year's
Right.
kind of format as far as 1 title sponsor, 5 headline sponsors. But if we feel
The
like we
headline
want to.
sponsor was 1 per concert,
Right,
right?
right,
So we're doing the same thing.
right.
Okay,
that's-
and then how does it translate then to the Christmas Village?
Then those sponsors, that'd be the headline sponsors for the Christmas Village.
Okay, so you could have multiple
I would
headlines.
have multiple headlines,
Okay,
and
got
it may
it.
be that they would each be a horse carriage sponsor, or we would really utilize them as sponsors for the entire Christmas Village.
Okay, got it.
I think it's going to help us get more money up front instead of last year. Every event we were begging for money, so this should help us build the kitty real early versus going concert to concert, event to event. So that's
Did you check with the building owner about putting up another business logo illuminated on the side of his building?
You're talking about,
As I say,
Where you have the Go logo?
right.
Did you talk to him about his,
could you put up Nelly
Dick?
or Sammy?
yeah,
Yeah, no, I did speak to Dick.
he was okay with
Yeah, he loves it. He loves it. He loves it.
as far as putting other business logos up there?
Well, it would be,
You're selling
Like-
sponsorship
it would
on the
be,
side of this building.
well, it would be, Friday Night Live sponsored by.
Okay,
It would be,
okay,
it would be
okay.
our
Yeah.
events.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, okay, no, that
Yeah.
sounds, I thought
It's
you were
always
just
their
gonna put.
event.
No,
their logo
not just the
up.
logo, no, it would be including, just like we did with our Nightmare on Main Street logo, so we
Okay.
included the McLean as a sponsor, so it would be inclusive of our events, not just putting up their logos.
I just thought that was odd, that we
Right.
hadn't seen that.
So,
Would you want to put on the back, like, other opportunities and a calendar or something?
and I thought about also, our annual statistics and things that we'd accomplished over the year, yes. That's a good, for that, instead of having a blank page.
All right, anything else, Phil, for
And we need to, and I know that Sister Nancy was on the promotions committee, but with the timing, there was conflict in her schedule. So Sister Nancy said that she would like to serve on the organization committee. I've actually got one other lady interested in joining the organization committee, so we really need to grow that committee, and the organization committee really grow and develop partnerships. And so, if you have any other recommendations for, next month, we really need to start our organization and really growing that and getting some work done.
All right, thanks, Phil. David, go ahead, promotions committee report.
So we had a good planning session looking at this year, and how we're going to support events and retail promotions. We essentially kind of set the foundation for what that promotional activity timeline would look like for each of the events, how we'll support it. Coming back, we'll have different quotes on some of the different activities so that we can understand what that looks like as an aggregate to support each of those events. Our main focuses at this point were the Art Walk and Friday Night Live concert series, because those are coming up very quickly, and we'll need to go ahead and get some activity going around those. So at this point, for our next meeting, what I'd like to do is have the calendar for you guys to look at, so that you understand what that timeline is for when we expect these different activities to support both the events and retail promotions would occur. And hopefully at that point, we'll also have some potential costs, at which point we can look at how that fits into budgets, et cetera. Social media marketing, so we established a process for how we'd like to communicate through social media for our accounts. Promotions committee would all support that. We would work with Phil to actually activate different messages on those accounts. We also went through, and based on events, retail promotions, holidays, et cetera, have talked about conceptually how we'll fill out 52 weeks of content, so that we're constantly posting and creating relevant messaging to keep people engaged with our accounts. That is also something that I expect to have for you guys to take a look at our next meeting.
And support Main Street business. That was the biggest thing we talked
Big
about last night,
conversation,
was if there's, don't mean to interrupt, but if there's a special event going on at Sheridan or something, we want, as a Main Street board, we want to be able to support that and not just be posting our own content. We get some organic content going, so.
You gotta look at getting some gift cards from some of the restaurants and then
We've-
giving those out as prizes.
We had some ideas.
We had
We got pumped up last night.
We got a really good conversation about it.
So there are different contests that we're looking at conceptually, some frameworks that we've seen successful in different industries or different organizations that we like to replicate with our own accounts, especially during the time when we're not promoting events or retail promotions. So some of that will be detailed out for you guys to take a look at when we build a calendar, and then we can all, agree on which ones we'd like to move forward with.
One of the biggest things for me is making sure that the Main Street Advisory Board social media is not separate from the other accounts. Like if we're posting something, I'd like obviously Park and Rec and the city's gonna re-share it, but I think it's gotta be separated out instead of a cluster. I think that was one of the things we talked about last night. Was an example was
more
when
individualized.
Friday Night Live went out, my whole feed was City of Belmont, Park
City
and
of
Rec.
Belmont,
We need to, obviously Main Street Advisory Board is part of the city, but we need to start identifying ourselves as this is our event. And then maybe a week later, that's part of the calendar, maybe a week later, then we recommend the city retweets it once it gets closer. Then next week, we recommend the Park and Rec does it. And it's more spread out, so it's in front of everyone's eyes throughout the 2 or 3 weeks leading up to it, instead of bam, all at once. Here's every social media account the city has is now posting and going to the same event, so.
Yeah, should let us be a little more, organized and strategic on how we approach it.
Right, so. Anything else, David? Any questions for him? All right, let's move on to economic vitality, Mark.
Okay. We met on this past Friday to actually start working on our work plan items, and that wasn't a regular meeting day, but we are currently working on one of our tasks with our work plan, which is to develop a business inventory, and there's already some of that done, but what we're trying to do is update that and take off things that are no longer on there, vacancies, for example, just updating the whole form in a spreadsheet form so that you'll be able to look at it. It'll be current. We're going to actually talk to some of the business owners and developers to help fill in some of this data. We are starting to look at this Ezra marketing report, which is, if you're not familiar with that, it's a supply and demand type of report. For example, if you looked at that Ezra report and you were thinking about doing a new business in Belmont, you might see that based on that report, that business is probably not going to be successful. Whereas you might, correct me if I'm wrong, Phil, but take a furniture business. As well as I remember, that's something that, according to that Ezra report, might be a good thing to have here in Belmont. And what you have is there's a leakage piece to it. So if you don't have certain businesses, they're going to go out to the surrounding areas in Charlotte, Gastonia, or wherever. So we're studying those market reports so that we can help in business recruitment when folks start wanting to come to Belmont. As far as business recruitment, we're developing questions in a survey type form. We're actually asking businesses what our committee can do to assist them, what we can do to recruit new businesses. For example, helping with the permit process might be something a new business would need some help in. We're going to develop, as part of our plan, a toolkit that would have things like the MSD program, grants, and like I just mentioned, navigating the permit process. And so I'm really excited. Everybody, when we had our meeting, everybody seemed real pumped up about working on these things, and we've already hit the ground running. We're already, we should have one of our tasks completed pretty soon.
That's awesome.
With the business inventory. We got some new committee members, Phil Champion from State Farm. We've got another lady on our committee. We've got Anne Marie Clinton, who was a retired director with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg school system that lives in Belmont. She's been looking for something to do, and
She found it.
so we've got her. We've already got her working. Any questions?
All right, thanks, Mark.
Sure.
Chair report, like I said, I don't have much to report today. The biggest thing is we've set the foundation the last month and a half, set the work plans, and we're just gonna stick to them, support each other, and have a little fun on the way. So it's gonna be a good year.
Great.
Any other new business? All right, with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So
How we do
moved.
that? So moved. All in favor? Awesome. Adjourned. I know that was a long meeting, but a lot of good content there.
Good meeting. Good meeting.
This one hopefully will go much quicker.
Yeah, balanced out last time it was about.
Thanks. Jen, with Rod and then Shelley, and what we did was we went ahead and we took the 2016 taxes that Rod developed. Shelley signed them she was this officer, so we went ahead and signed them. I created a cover memo as per my conversation with Rod to the IRS, asking for basically forgiveness of any penalty for submitting them late. I explained why they were submitted late. There was a change, turnover in staff, and a misunderstanding on if they were electronically filed or not. And so we submitted those. Of course, also the 2017 taxes. When Rod did those, he put me as the officer. I quickly signed it and put them in the mail in I think it was like December the 12th or 17th. We went ahead, since my name was on there, I signed it again. Shelley signed them as the secretary, as the officer, and so in that memo, I explained that I was resubmitting our 2017 taxes, and I included the cover from when I had submitted them in December, but I was asking to resubmit to have one of our actual board officers sign the taxes, and so I resubmitted certified mail our 2016 and 17 taxes, basically said, our goal was to get these completely caught up to date and back in good standing. So,
And I believe Rod is doing the 2018 right
And
now.
so-
Let's get those on time.
so Rod, we were already starting to work on the 2018, but we still need to find out if we can stick to calendar year or revert back to fiscal year the way that 15-16 was submitted. But we've got everything submitted. Now we're just going to be kind of in hold pattern and hear back from the IRS on any penalty and or moving forward with calendar versus fiscal year submittal. So they've all been submitted.
Thank you.
Grants. I have been researching grants. We have them listed here. The Caramont Health Grant, that's coming up. I think it's like a mid to late March deadline. And so we have the Belmont Tourism Development Association grant that I was going to ask for a sponsorship of the DBDA.
Were you going to ask for a particular level?
I was going to ask for a headline sponsorship of $3,500 to support the DBDA in Friday Night Live, Halloween, and Christmas Village. And then we have our Community Foundation Impact Fund grant. We submitted this grant for the lights. I've already asked the lighting company to come and start working on giving me a quote for kind of doing the secondary streets, if that's something that we want to move forward with as well. And so open for ideas or suggestions today or later on with any other types of grants or ideas you have for inclusion on or ideas about these grants. I'll definitely really look at additional grants with Shelley also for wayfinding, something for the kiosk.
Any questions for Phil?
I'd also like to, Mr. Chair, bring back up now the possible, or maybe that should be under new business, these maybe supporting the fashion show event.
We'll do that under new business. Treasurer's report?
Okay, I think you've got this information. Our checking account balance, $24,224.05. There's a lot of money in outstanding checks, but that's because of the Friday night live concerts. We signed, what, 5?
We have all contracts
Right.
signed and submitted.
So that leaves a balance of $19,016.59 in available funds. Any questions?
Uncollected sponsorship,
Yeah,
3,000.
Yeah.
we've collected, we collected a couple of our sponsorships.
We've got, what, 2 of them?
And so now we have 2 outstanding.
Right.
Who are they?
And I have resubmitted invoices to them.
And who are they?
One is to Belmont Specialty Foods, and the other one is, is it Preston, the construction company, not Preston.
And Finial Construction,
Finial
that's in
Construction.
Mercer. Okay.
And so was it 2 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
I resubmitted invoices, and so we'll continue to, and I had a conversation with Luke, as well as send him his updated invoice.
Any other questions or anything else, Mark?
Yeah, that's it.
Committee reports, start Angela.
I do. I don't.
All right, David? Mark? All right, chair report, or let's see, committee reports. You want to talk about the?
That came from promotion,
Yes.
Okay.
promotions.
I take back my original answer. Yeah, so what we're looking for is, we'd like to request funding from the city, corporate sponsorship for some of our events this year, and around $15,000. We would have detail as to what that would go to support, to kind of, make it clear exactly where those dollars would go to support these different events.
So is that different from the title sponsor? I think last year, we didn't get a title sponsor, so since the city had given us the 15,000, we used them as our title sponsor. So the corporate is in addition to,
Correct.
still searching for a title?
Yes.
Okay.
How'd that timeline work last year, as far as, I know we got 15,000 from the city last year, what was that process like last year?
It just went before council with the request
And what was the justification behind it then?
to help, and I'm doing this off memory,
Right.
so.
You'll be quoted in the minutes.
Yes, that's correct. So I believe, it's my recollection, that it was supported by the money was needed, that was the first year the DBDA was actually doing the Friday Night Live series. They needed startup funds because they didn't really have any startup funds or sponsorships at that time to secure the insurance and deposits for the bands and et cetera.
And so that was last year when we were kind of starting up, what would be the board's justification this year?
Well, I think the board took on additional responsibilities throughout the year in holding and other events. Mainly, one thing that I think it exceeded kind of expectations was Christmas Village. We took on incurred additional costs there. It's my understanding Friday Night Live concerts made money, then we bled money.
Yes.
During the Party in the Park concert series. Then we had the Nightmare on Main Street and the Christmas Village. And so with the turnouts to those events, we definitely see those events growing. And so the additional funding would really be to help promote and grow the other events.
There are some investments that we can make from a promotional standpoint that would occur this year to support the events, but are investments that would go to support future
that's
events as
great.
well.
That's
Be that
great.
content or different advertising channels that we can invest in to establish. So a lot of that would be seeding to support those costs initially, and would go not only to benefit this year, but future
Well,
events
we
as
help,
well.
and Belmont Blooms, will
Yep.
be coming up, and so we'll have to really look ahead at other, I think, actions that this board and the Main Street committees will be taking on.
Personally, I just like the Angels budget with the kiosk. I wouldn't mind seeing the same thing for 15,000 to the city. if we're asking
To
for money,
identify
we
what
need
it's
to.
going towards,
Right.
whether it's promotions or.
From my perspective,
Yeah.
City Council wants the Friday Night Live series to do it,
Yeah.
They should-
and has basically said this committee needs to do it. And so this committee's response should be, well, you need to help out financially
partner.
this year and every year for us to continue to do that, is my thought.
So as we're,
'Cause I don't exactly think the whole thing happened real fairly, where, because it seems like
Oh,
City
yeah.
Council's
I like your
dictating everything, and then this group's volunteering on everything.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's I mean, I don't particularly
You
like
think
that
that should
relationship,
be-
but you guys seem okay with it, so.
You think that should be put forth as an annual request?
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
great.
I mean, why would
Annual
the city,
October-
like, if the city
Yeah.
is so adamant about this series going on, why wouldn't they contribute it all financially?
And you
I
could
mean, why would
probably,
they put that entire burden on a group of unelected
Volunteers,
volunteers
yeah.
Right.
who live in the community?
Good
I don't,
and
that's
I
my
think,
view.
Right.
I think you can show that the other jurisdictions get support from the city, or, and I believe Mount Holly, they get some of the ABC money, the ABC commission money, I believe, to help support it. And so if you have some of the facts,
Okay.
Yeah. I'm all for it, so I'll make sure we've got the meat
In
behind it.
fact, I wouldn't do it without their support financially. As a volunteer.
As a volunteer.
I just walk away because you're not gonna take the heat. City council's gonna take the heat for
So-
why they're not supporting it.
Can I ask then your kind of feedback on the approach with it being a year-long sponsorship with other events included? Christmas
you could go
Village?
to 20 and ask to support the other
Give 'em a
events.
headline.
Because we were given the Christmas Village as well. The DBDA was given the Christmas Village as well,
With no,
with no funding.
Yeah,
and then the DVD actually funded some, then we had to really go out and seek, additional grants.
Yeah, we did grants for the lights, and they've raised the bar on the Christmas
Yeah.
Village.
and this is not the only charter of this board. This board's supposed to be, doing inventory on businesses and other
Yeah.
things. These are all just, every other group in town shutting down and everything's
Right.
falling on your lap. And the city's just pushing it your way. So I would ask for money for
20.
whatever projects
I
it's
just feel I'd ask for a raise.
given to you. All of
And it's interesting you say that, because yesterday I read the city's new, is it the strategic plan?
The strategic, from the retreat.
From the retreat,
goals
and almost word for word, everything that's on there is exactly what these committees have planned and working on this year, so.
I tell you, they got a good deal with us.
They do. I agree. I've gone to bat for the board, trust me.
So knowing that, we want to ask more than 15.
So what would the recommendation be as far as an annual support sponsorship for this? Do we want to break it out, or no?
Well, if you've already said 15,000, they would cover the other activities, so you might as well say 20, 25,000 to cover a year-long annual request.
Yeah.
and Danny,
And then if we need other sponsors for something else, we could ask for it, if
Dear.
needed.
Just have how much is allocated to each event.
Yeah.
Friday Night Live.
There you go.
Break down the
And then
cost, yeah.
what are the other ones? The Christmas Village and.
Christmas Village, Nightmare on Main Street.
Which
We
is part of
have-
Boo Fest or not part of Boo Fest?
Well, there were separate events, but we
It's merged
Okay,
kind of.
just
kind of merged.
Cost
it.
allocate, you know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
And
I
new
do real
events,
heavy
too.
on
We
the
have
Friday
the
Night
budget.
Live, heavy on the Christmas Village, and then real small on everything else.
And then also to include the
And the new
promotions
events.
for
We got
each event.
a lot of new events that we're talking about, getting in the River District and Chronicle Mill District,
That's
so.
great.
Yeah,
We're gonna
really-
need money for that, big
Yeah.
time, so.
Yeah, we
Okay.
talked about doing something in the River District.
And if you have ideas on how you want to advertise and spend money, that's a better way to get money from Belmont Travel and Tourism
Yeah.
versus just asking for a grant.
Yeah.
So if you can say, we're gonna do this type of advertising,
Yeah.
we co-do that with, so that way, I mean, you're still asking for the same money for the same purpose, but now you're giving them more concrete examples on why
Yeah.
it translates to their charter or charge.
Right. So to Danny's point, your point, what we can do is divide that out, right? So here's our total ask, and this is how we see that allocated to each event.
Each
And then
event,
underneath each of
per
those, we'll
event.
put line items based on
Yeah.
some of the quotes that we're getting back.
How, logistically, how's that work? Is that another proposal that goes to city council on a Monday night meeting? Okay. Is there a goal date we want to have that by?
Now,
The
March
4th,
4th?
March
Yeah,
4th.
yeah.
Yeah, so the next 2 weeks, the
because
next week and a half will be
last year, we
busy.
had already had the 15,000
Good.
by January to help.
Okay,
So what's the ask?
I'd ask 20, and then if we're having a hard time getting sponsors throughout, then come back.
Well, I think we need to, is Belmont Blooms falls within next?
That's 2020, so that would be the next.
Be next year's ask.
Following,
Yeah.
that would be next
Yeah,
year's
it's
ask?
Belmont Blooms is not this year, it's next year, so it would be 2020. So, yeah, you could do the next year's ask. And the plans will be further developed by then, you know.
It'll be this time next year, right?
Yes,
So it'll be in next year's budget.
2019-20, yes.
So whatever we do, we'll have to come up with funding next year.
We'll do the same ask next year, just earlier.
Yeah, like in January.
Right. So this year, for this
this
year's
year.
events, right,
Yeah, I'd focus on this calendar year.
yeah.
Okay.
Well,
But it overlaps.
But you guys work on the fiscal budget.
So that's fiscal year, so this next
But we
year
get-
for us will be next calendar year.
so I'm not sure. I'd run it past Adrian how
Yeah.
to, because what your ask might not be approved until the budget, which would start in July 1.
Yeah, but we can't wait
You
till
can't wait
July
to get-
1.
yeah,
No, we
for this.
cannot wait.
Yeah,
If
you're
they
right.
want the event, we can't wait.
Yeah.
So we need the money now
Right.
for the concert series. And so I would ask them for the money, and then during the budget workshops, you as the Main Street Director, we can, as some of the programming, we can request.
Budget money in the Main
To
Street
sort of
budget
put that
for
in the
Belmont Blooms,
budget
okay.
as we're, and I believe in the end of March, we're having a
Okay.
budget workshop, right? So we can talk
Yeah.
about that,
Okay.
how to do it.
Okay, good. So Shelley, you said you recommended 25. What did you?
Well, look, if we're asking for money, let's just, ask for money.
So
Well, no, I'm fine. If we
15
want to,
15 for Friday Night Live.
maybe it's more important, and maybe
And
just
we need-
5 for the 20,000 is maybe just appropriate, because I think that's appropriate, and then while we're talking to them the budget, we'll have more details, including the Belmont Blooms.
Advertisements.
Sure.
Right, we'll have those details to ask for the larger amount,
Okay.
if warranted.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And now you can start tracking people at these events and show the value.
Exactly.
So
Mm-hmm.
next year you can keep increasing it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like a good nonprofit does, ask for more the next year.
That's right.
Okay. Good conversation.
Should we need a motion for that or no?
I'll make the motion to support the request of the DBDA for support of an annual support for the DBDA for its events of $20,000.
Second.
Angela.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Chair report. The only thing I just want to plant the seed now that we've been talking about is not only putting on all these events, but we need to focus on how we give back to the community as well. If there's a public art piece we want to do, and it says the DBDA, we got to be able to get our name out. There's not only an event committee, but we got to get out there as this is what we're doing for the community. So we can talk about that in much greater detail later, but I just want to plant the seed now, start thinking about things where at the end of the day, we are a 501c3, and we need to start doing some things in the community where we actually give back. So new business. Phil, you had something?
Speaking of giving back, we have a new event being developed by some businesses in downtown, which will be bringing some people from and organizations, businesses from Charlotte. And I would recommend that the DBDA sponsor or participate and support the fashion show event by purchasing a table at the cost of $250. And I can't remember if it was 4 tickets or 6 to be included that this board could use to attend the event and support the fashion show.
What's the date?
It is March the 28th. March 28th.
I make a motion to do that.
You have a second?
Second.
Andrew.
All in favor?
The only thing I'd add to that is while we're developing our budget for the DBDA, because we'll probably get more requests like this, that in the budget, we develop a line item
For
so we say, okay, we're only going to support up to this amount, and, in, whether it's 4 of them or a certain dollar amount.
Yeah, percentage of.
Just because we don't want people to say, well, you supported them, but you didn't support us.
No, I think you should reach out to people to take with you to that. Like Raj Merchandani, who owns Bedazzled in Gastonia, and some different people who might find it interesting who also do retail clothing, or invite somebody out of Charlotte who does retail clothing, just to get them to Belmont.
To get on the Belmont?
That way it's like
Guy
easy
from the
justifiable
restaurant,
thing.
what's the owner's name from Webb?
Oh, Jim Resso,
Yeah.
Or his wife.
his wife,
What's the vision?
her name is Charlotte.
What's the
It's a good opportunity to bring people to Belmont who haven't spent much time here.
What's the vision for our table at that event?
Well,
What would
for
like?
me, it was just this organization supporting one of our businesses who was creating this really, nice event downtown, but I really like the direction that Ryan goes, use this as an opportunity
Gotcha.
to bring in some other potential, like a business recruitment tool.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely
That's great.
wonderful.
So that's
I'd
a
love
great
to go
idea.
there.
And so, over the next week or two, we'll start, let's develop that, if you have recommendations or suggestions. So I think it was a table, it's either 4, so I'm thinking it was 4. So that would be, it doesn't have to be me, it could be, one of our Angela Shelley or Caroline, one of our board members, who wants to, but I'd be glad to.
Any other new or old business? All right, meeting is adjourned.
Just under 2 hours, Dan. We're gonna have a sidebar conversation.
Kiosk took a lot, but that was needed. So,
That was good.
Good to see everybody. Good work.
thank you for your
Those kiosks are awesome.
insight.
They are
They're unbelievable.